Hey, good morning, guys. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, you too, man. I saw your Insta story, and I saw your guys' costume. I forgot what it was, but it looked kind of cool, and it looked like you put a lot of time into it. What was it, and what'd you do?
Yeah, we ended up doing, me and my girlfriend did Harley Quinn and the Joker.
That's right.
So, just a little something, my first time wearing makeup. My girlfriend put some makeup on me, so we did it pretty well. I thought we pulled it off. So we had a good time at the party, and we looked great.
Whose party was it?
Rick and Keel. He had just a little Halloween party. Had some people over, and had a good time.
What were some of the other costumes? Because I know some former players were there or current players. I want the dirt.
Yeah, there's some people went all out at this party. Really, only one former player, Nick Whitgren. That was the only other former player that I had played with that was there. But there was a couple Beth Dutton and Rips from Yellowstone. There's a couple of pairs of them. Britney Spears.
Ooh.
Some Leprechauns, some Vikings.
Now hold on. Hold on.
Wait.
Britney Spears back in the day or current day knife dancing Britney Spears?
Naked.
It was the current day knife dancing Britney Spears.
Figured that.
And there was a whole routine she had planned with a dance to Toxic. So it was quite a show.
I like that.
There's a leprechaun. Was it a leprechaun like Warwick Davis in the movie, which was creepy? Or was it just like a?
No, it was just like a wearing all green, happy leprechaun.
Like Lucky
type,
Charms.
Yeah, Lucky Charms type guy.
Yeah, I get you.
Now, do you live in a place where you got trick-or-treaters coming through?
I think we do. We do live in a little neighborhood. So my girlfriend, she bought a bunch of candy yesterday in preparation for some trick-or-treaters to come by tonight. So we'll see. We'll be waiting out there and see if anybody strolls by.
What did she buy? We want to know what candy you're giving out. Hopefully you're not cheaping out as you're a professional athlete making a good amount of money.
No, honestly, I didn't even look, but I was talking to her. I was like, I hope you got like the full-size candy bars, not none of the, the fun size. We want to go all out. We want people coming to our house for Halloween. So especially this first one, we need to show up with some good candy bars and like some full bags of candy.
That's newsy. So you will be giving away
big boys
full-size candy bars.
Yes.
That's how you do it.
That's pretty good.
That's how you.
So how many did you get? Like 200?
Oh, I don't know if we have that many people coming by, but we need to try. We got to survey it a little bit this year, so we're really ready to go next year. I can't have like 150 candy bars left over because next thing you know, I'll be eating them. I'll weigh 300 pounds.
Yeah. That's the problem. See, that happened to me Friday. I got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. My 2-year-old's trick-or-treating really for me because he can't even eat this stuff. So Friday night, we have all this candy, and my wife was actually out of town. So I'm having a couple beers Friday night. Next thing you know, it's about midnight, and I look at my garbage can, kids, and I think there were probably 15 fun size. Because if you eat the fun size, you don't realize it adds up to about 5 full-size candy bars.
Yeah, they add up quick. That's for sure.
And your stomach's beat up the next day. Hey, let me ask you: did you play with? This could be a dumb question. Did you play with Tommy Pham?
I never played with him in the big leagues or the minor leagues, but I was in spring training with him a few times.
If you were going to break a record for the postseason, try to go 5 for 5, would you try that, or would you skip one out and give it to another player and be a good teammate like he did? I'm just curious. I think I know the answer to it.
That honestly is a tough question. First off, it would be hard to know if that was even a record while you were playing a game. And I don't even know how are you even supposed to know that no player has ever gone 5 for 5 in the World Series? If I was sitting there 4 for 4 in the World Series, I would have no idea that no player has ever gone 5 for 5. So I probably honestly would have given my at bat up. To be able to get in the World Series and have an at bat, something you're going to remember for a long, long time. And to be honest with you, I'd be pretty happy with a 4 for 4.
Kids, it's Cole here. Mm-hmm. Along those lines, how aware are you of your stats, like in over a week's period of time or something? Like if you're on a hot streak or a cold streak?
I feel like I'm very aware.
Yep.
I try not to look into the numbers too much, but I think any baseball player that tells you they don't look at their numbers is straight up lying. Everybody wants to have good numbers and basically just be productive. There are times where I feel like my swing is really good and I'm having productive at-bats and not getting results, which I can live with. But, I do, at the end of the day, like having good numbers and seeing my numbers get better as the season goes and not get worse.
So that was going to be my question. Which stats do you care about more? Is it the ones on the scoreboard that all the fans can see and everybody knows, but also nowadays everything with the expected and hard hit rate? And you might know, hey, I'm hitting the ball pretty dang well. I think was it last year we talked about there was that 1 month you had that was just awful luck, where there's a month, man, I can't buy a hit, but I'm actually hitting the ball pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, it kind of depends on the month. If I look up and I see my batting average is really good that month and my OPS is really good, then that's really all I care about. And then, as baseball players, we try to always turn it into our favor. So if we look up there and we're only hitting $150 for the month of June, but, we look at our hard hit rates like 60, 70%, it's like, well, I'm hitting the ball hard. I just, you always try to look at the stats and make you feel better. But, I was always a big batting average guy throughout my whole life. I always want to look up there and see a really, really good batting average. But as time goes on here, I feel like OPS is probably the best stat to look at.
So, Kiz, on this show we're trying to play the gotcha game and get some we could tweet out and get clicks. But you just said any player that tells you he doesn't look at the stats is a liar. Goldschmidt says he doesn't look at the stats.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
Well,
what are you saying, Andrew Knizner?
I'm saying he might be stretching the truth a little bit. I think,
Nice.
I think everybody looks at their numbers. Now, here's the difference. You're looking at your numbers. Some guys don't get affected by the numbers as much as others, and I think Goldschmidt is a guy that when he looks and he sees his numbers, whether they're really, really good, which they usually are, or not so good, which they very rarely are, he doesn't get too high or too low based on the numbers. He cares more about what he's doing internally than what the actual numbers say on the scoreboard. So I know for a fact he probably looks at them. He just doesn't get affected by them.
So, Kiz, I know we're joking here, but you brought up something I think is really interesting because now people on this show and people on the text line, they make fun of me for many reasons, but one of them is they say I quote OPS plus too much. But I think you brought up a great point, which is we're all conditioned. I'm 41 years old. It's always batting average, home runs, RBIs. That's all that you saw on a baseball card or a TV broadcast. You used to only see batting average, homers, RBIs. And I think you'd agree now. You said OPS, if we're just talking about one stat that we can kind of just throw up there, it would be smarter if OPS was up there instead of batting average. And then people could realize more that somebody like Kyle Schwarber can actually be really good and hit $190, but he's hitting 40 jacks and he's walking a lot. So
yeah,
I don't know what my question here is, but I feel like we could help change the game if we used OPS instead of batting average.
Yeah, and I think a lot of scoreboards and a lot of stadiums are starting to use OPS a little bit more. I just feel like OPS really, it just combines the total hitter's worth into one number because you get the power, you get the on base. Batting average is usually somewhat correlated. There are extremes like a Schwarber or whatnot, but usually if you have a high OPS, you're going to have a good batting average. I think the whole stigma with getting away from batting average and using OPS or different numbers like WOBA and all those things, it's just hard to define what that is to like a casual fan. Like they don't understand, how to even calculate OPS or WOBA or all those, advanced sabermetric numbers. And where batting average is simple, hits divided by at bats. How many, what's your chance of getting a hit? So, I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to those advanced stats is it's just hard to describe and hard to calculate.
I agree with all that. I say put them all up. Now, if you put up too many, you're going to lose a lot of fans because there is a point where people are like, it's too much already. I don't need to know about BABIP. But OPS, I agree, is probably the most valuable stat, but they're all pieces of a puzzle. So I say, put them all up. Now, my question to you is, because you mentioned this earlier about being with fam at spring training. If you could hearken back to those days, your first invite to spring training, you're in the big league clubhouse in Jupiter, was there a player or two that you were like sort of intimidated by, or like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm in the same room?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of current players on that team, and you know, I'll never forget the first time I walked into the big league clubhouse in spring training. I came in a couple of days before spring training to, you know, drop my equipment off, and I'm walking around the room, and one of the first guys to walk right past me was Wainwright, and I was like, oh my God, that's Adam Wainwright. And then I turn around and Yadi's walking the other direction, and I was just like so starstruck and rattled a little bit that it took me like 10 minutes to find where my locker was even at, because it just felt like the clubhouse was spinning, you know, because of all the guys that were walking around in there, and not to mention all the former players that were passing through, Ozzie Smith, guys like that. It's just, you know, Cardinals just have a lot of they usually always have some really high name players on the roster, but also a lot of former players come around too.
How does the communication work between you, the players, and the analytics department? Is there someone in between, or are you talking directly to them and they're explaining all this stuff to you?
Most of it's communicated through like the pitching coaches and the hitting coaches. So I think they're the ones that talk more to the front office and more, you know, to the analytics guys to get, you know, numbers and things like that. But, you know, as players, you know, it's good to know the numbers and it's good to know all the expected stats and stuff like that. But really, we have so many things going on in our mind with scouting reports and, you know, playing the game that day and how to recover and how to prepare, that we, you know, if we have too much information, it's almost counterproductive to a certain degree. You know, there's guys that like a lot of information, and guys that like the information, they ask for more. They get more information. Some guys don't want to hear all those numbers and all the analytics. So, you know, the hitting coaches and the pitching coaches kind of simplify it for those types of guys. So everybody's different, and everybody wants and looks at different things as far as their own performance and as far as like scouting the opposing team. So usually the pitching coaches and the hitting coaches kind of take care of all that.
When you're standing in the batter's box, are you actually thinking about exit velo and launch angle, or do you just grip it and rip it?
I just, as far as my own numbers, it's kind of hard to, you know, say, oh, I'm going to try to hit this ball at 28 degrees. You know, if I could do it every time, I would. But a lot of what I'm thinking in the box is more so along the lines of, you know, how's this pitcher been sequencing? What pitch should I look for? What's my best opportunity to get a pitch to hit? You know, a lot of it depends on situation. So, you know, where the runner's at, where are we in the game? How many outs are there? Because all that goes into what pitch I'm looking for and where I'm trying to hit it. I know it's tough to aim the ball all the time, but you can definitely have a plan to try to hit the ball at least to the right of second base or to the left of second base. And as far as all the numbers and stuff, I try to throw that out once I step into that batter's box.
So, Kiz, a couple minutes ago you mentioned Yadi. Have you seen him around? Is he, you know, maybe trying to get a place down there, or maybe buying a place? Have you seen him with the local realtor or anything?
Boat?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I have not seen Yadi down here yet. I don't know if that means he's not looking for a place. I know he sold his house down in Jupiter a few years ago, but you know, maybe it's time for him to buy a new one.
So, if that happens, and do you think this team, this organization, could use that Yadi fire again? I think it's easy for media types and fans when there's a losing season to be like, oh, they lack passion and all that. You need to fire up the troops. And sometimes a team just loses, and then you look for reasons of why they're losing. But do you feel like, you know, Yadi, as you mentioned, he had a presence when you were young in spring training. He still has a presence. He's Yadi. He's a Hall of Famer. He holds people accountable. He's a winner. He does have that fire and passion. Do you think, and whether it's him or not, do you feel like you guys could use a little more of that?
You know, I think teams can always benefit from former players coming back to help out and coach, especially guys with, kind of the resume that Yadi has. He's one of the best catchers of all time. He's caught, 2,000 plus games. He's seen it all. So just the experience and just his kind of his presence with everybody knowing, he's seen everything. I think that can definitely give players confidence and give players another resource to, bounce ideas off, ask questions, and really learn from that experience. So I think anytime you can add a guy like that on the staff, I think it's going to be really beneficial.
I agree with you, man. Hey, good luck tonight with the kids showing up because, you want them to take those big old candy bars so you don't put any LBs on, man. I get the game, dude. I get the game. Hey, have fun tonight, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, boys. I'll see you all next week.
All right.
Thanks. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to everyone. Andrew Knizner.
Good chat.
Andrew Knizner. His
He's
outfit,
always good.
His outfit looked really cool on Instagram. Really cool. He must have put some time. That was like professionally done.
I'm gonna check
It's
this
gone
out.
now because he put it on Insta story. Yeah.
I mean, because his girlfriend did it. I mean, she made him up.
Yeah, she did a
She the
damn
boss.
good, she
She
did a
the
damn
boss.
she did a damn
Yeah.
good job.
Okay,
Damn good job.
question.
Yeah.
I'm not an Instagram guy.
Yeah.
I asked my wife the same question, though. What is the strategy behind the story for it to go away?
I don't know, but I like it.
Okay, but why would you not want to keep like? And,
'Cause I don't want to flood my.
okay, but Facebook,
I don't want to flood
Facebook, you'll keep all the pictures for 15 years, whatever. You can go back and look at them.
Yeah.
To some people, I feel like Facebook is now your. You used to have picture albums. Now you can go back and look at Facebook. I'm just wondering the strategy of why you'd want the videos or pictures to go away.
I just like it because it doesn't clog up my Instagram, my main Instagram account. People could just see it for a day and they see your like my little thing that Kate did a little video. I showed Jimmy of the house. He put
was
some
good.
scary Halloween stuff. I mean, it's during the day, but it looks really pretty. And it's we got all these Halloween decorations up. But I don't need that. I have enough house stuff on there. I don't want to flood it, so that's why I just like it. And it's gone. But people have a sense
And
of
you
where
got
you're
that
living.
fireplace, that
Yep.
2 rooms.
I told you.
Open.
Yeah, like that.
Very nice.
I know. I love
It depends on what you're doing. If you're taking like good photos with your family
Yeah.
that you want to stick around, then you'll put that on your account.
Exactly.
But if you're just showing a picture of what you're doing, like if you and a couple old buddies get together and you're all having a beer together and you take a quick picture, you may just put it on your story because you may be like, this isn't that relevant, but we're
Yeah.
hanging out. It's cool.
Exactly right, Cole.
So it's like,
and sponsor stuff too, where you could just so you don't flood your Instagram. You just put the sponsor thing up, like you click here, boom, and it goes away in 24 hours. So you just don't flood anything. It's just
but
a
I
good
mean,
way to show
flooding,
people.
well, you would just go back in time and be able to see them forever.
Yeah, I don't want to see that forever.
But like I feel like every other. The only reason I bring it up is every other social media. Usually, you don't delete stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to do another one tonight and post it. Like a creepy Halloween, like maybe go up to the graveyard and show and stuff like that.
No
But
offense.
I just want that gone.
No offense. I'm a Twitter creator. I'm not trying to brag, but I've made $11.61. So I go to Twitter mostly because I like to defend freedom of speech.
You're damn right, Jimmy. You're damn right.
So, is this 11 total?
11, yes. I haven't got paid since.
That's where Twitter needs to step their game up because you have a lot of followers. Honestly, if Twitter wants to really keep people, creative people that are bringing a lot of the content, they need to pay people more than
100%.
that.
But let's not
But
call
you
it
should make-
content. That's
No,
kind
it
of
is.
overstated.
No, it
Content's
isn't.
content, dude.
No, because you're looking at it. You're looking at it from the realm of somebody with 100,000. There's a lot of people that do this for a living, and they could do it for a living on Twitter, and they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And if Elon Musk wants Twitter to be the best it can be, they need to compete with YouTube and TikTok. And they're not because you have a lot of followers. Like you should at least make a couple $100 a month.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've been
For all the
tweeting
ads
more.
you see?
I've been tweeting more because Brendan Schaefer said I should, and he's sort of one of my Sherpas
We like
because
him.
I'm an old, and so I've been tweeting more, seeing if I could match. Like, let's face it, when Cardinal season's over, no one wants to hear from me, so I'm going to keep pushing to make myself
Force the
relevant
issue.
on Twitter, and I've done it. I still have a lot of impressions since baseball season has ended, and I wanted to keep it up to see if I'd get another big payday of $11.61, and I have
You
not.
couldn't even buy candy at Walgreens for that.
Well, initially I told myself I'll get the blue check mark. I'll make the money back if I can monetize it, and my monetizing mission has so far been a failure.
That's all good.
But I think that's on Twitter.
I agree.
They need to share. They need to share the money a little more, even if they're at a loss for a while, because I think that'll bring everybody to Twitter.
But again, I'm not doing it to make money. I'm doing it to defend freedom of speech.
Of course.
That's why.
Of course. An American hero.
Also,
like Megan.
It's easier.
You're in that category. American hero. You know. Cole, good questions. I was curious, too.
Thank you.
I didn't like it, though, when I had my hand up. We had the whole thing laid out, and he tried to jump me.
No,
he
but
tried
then
to jump me.
No,
Charlie tried to jump. And I went to you, didn't I,
I
Cole?
mean, this guy for a producer,
thank
he
you.
asked a lot of questions.
I went to Cole first, and we won up Charlie on
And
that.
I could tell, too, because I think I raised my hand, and I beat Charlie to it. But then when
Charlie gave me that.
But when Charlie raised his hand, I could tell that his question was going to be more related to exactly what Kiz just said.
Me too.
That's the only reason I raised my hand.
Well, that's
It's
why
just
you go
to
like
stay
this.
on the
No,
topic.
That's this, though.
I'll tell you,
know
a little bit.
You know
Follow
what
up.
that is? That's game sense.
Yeah.
You have game sense. Charlie jumped in, and mine was going to be a different direction, so I acquiesced to Charlie. That was a very mature read right
It was.
Yeah, but I still asked my question and still went in front of him anyway, so how
That's
much
true.
game sense do I have?
Well, you just wanted to get in there and talk. You like talking. What do you got, Charlie? You
we
raised
all
your hand.
love talking.
'Cause I'm afraid I'll forget my question.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
I love that you ask questions. I'm just joking.
Me too.
It rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, every once in a while. Okay, I know we were focused a little bit on that batting average versus OPS conversation. The reason I personally don't like batting average is for one reason, and we'll spin it to hockey for a second.
Does it involve Brian McCann?
It does not.
Although
that's a great example.
He never hit over, 238 for his last 4 seasons.
Well, that was before.
Something like that.
Okay, but we had the argument before that when he was one of the best catchers in baseball history.
You called him a superstar.
He was.
Never
Look up his first 8-9 years. All-Star and Silver Slugger literally every year. Here's what I'm saying. If you say hockey player forward, Cam, don't you think you can generally for a forward, I know plus minus is important.
Yeah.
And there's all the advanced stats, but you can essentially say points. You can say player A had 80 points, player B had 60 points. For the most part, usually player A with the 80 points is a better, more productive player. I'm just saying in general terms, correct?
Yeah.
What I don't
20-point
like,
difference,
whatever. What I don't like about batting average is a 275 batting average versus a 250 batting average does not in any way, shape, or form mean that player is a better offensive player at all. There are so many players that are 250. You could be 250 with power and walks, and you're literally twice as good as the guy that hits 270. And that's why I think OPS is the one catch-all stat that encompasses everything. And generally speaking, you can say that guy's a better offensive player because his OPS is higher.
I agree, but
The only thing that's missing out on is stolen bases should count toward your slugging percentage. If you hit a single and then swipe second, that should be equal to a double.
And that's why WAR, I'm trying to, if you really get into everything in WAR and expected and runs created, I'm trying to avoid that, which is why I think OPS plus, because it's on a scale of 1 to 100, I think it's very easy for people to understand that 100 is league average.
okay, I agree with all of what you're saying. But remember, baseball is a game based on tradition, and change comes slowly. So, to me, all these stats are pieces of a puzzle. Like, you could look at a stat and try to tell a story with one stat, probably not the whole story. So, you got to use a bunch of different stats. And I also think batting average is so burned into baseball history that you can't just discard it. And if you do it gradually by incorporating these other stats as the main menu for looking at a player's performance, and then eventually it will settle in.
Agreed. And all that I was saying was growing up, the baseball card stats, which are the Triple Crown stats, which is the only stats they ever showed on ESPN or your local broadcast. Batting average, homers, RBIs. My point is that OPS takes batting average into account. Batting average does not take into account the two most important components of OPS. Literally, what is OPS? It's on base and it's slugging. And so batting average tells you none of that.
I was actually talking about it with my kid, Tyler, about Schwarber. Like, yeah, he didn't hit 200 this year, whatever. But look at how many walks. Look at his on-base percentage. He is actually proof that standard stats don't measure a player's value without using other stats. He's like the proof in the pudding.
And they also, this is really getting the weeds, but I've had conversations with my buddy who works as a hitting coach with the Cubs. They literally tell these guys, Kyle Schwarber, we would rather have you with 2 strikes swing for a home run than try to choke up and hit a single. Like, he could hit 230 with probably 35 homers. They look into it and say, look, no, you're actually more valuable. We don't care if you strike out 40 more times because that's also going to end up with 7 more home runs, and that brings us more value.
It's funny because one of the knocks on Adolis Garcia was his strikeout rate, where he probably had people saying, yeah, we need the power. I'll bet a lot of players, if they pulled back on trying to swing for the fences, even though players say, you don't really try to swing, you just make good contact. But my point is, if you back away from trying to generate power numbers, you probably have a better batting average. Might be a less valuable player.
Correct.
Here you go. 119 OPS plus across 8 years for Brian McCann.
That's really good.
At the
for a
catching
catcher.
position, yeah.
But read off his first about 8 years when he was an all-star every year and Silver Slugger. That's when we had this argument.
In average
I don't
season,
even remember when we had it, but he was never a superstar.
Hold on.
In
it
average,
was like
very
10,
good
It was
player.
10 years ago.
it was
very good
An
player.
average season for him in that time span was 21 home runs, 80 RBI.
Very good player.
When he was
never a
his
superstar.
first
That makes
about
sense.
7, 8, 9 years.
Yep.
Read off his all-stars and Silver Sluggers for his first complete seasons. Remember, this is a catcher.
In that time span, in that 8-year time span, 7-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger.
In his first 8 years as a catcher.
First 8 full seasons.
Right. And
So
he has
his Atlanta stint,
okay. He also
removing the half year that he started his career with.
we started this argument when he had just signed his big deal with the Yankees.
And that's exactly when it fell.
And the shift came. He still has historic. You can look this up. In terms of power hitting catchers, he is one of the best in the 150-year history of baseball.
Let me ask you this.
He has like more 20 homer seasons as a catcher than I think anybody except for maybe Piazza and Johnny Bench.
The home runs actually did hold up when he went to the Yankees, which
Yeah, well, he was
go
hitting-
figure. You're
I
playing at
never
Yankee
said,
Stadium.
I said
220
he
now.
was a really good player.
What's the argument?
Superstar or not? That's where that's and it's semantics. Never a superstar. So
He was though behind the scenes. He was. That was my point.
Behind the scenes.
This is my point though.
Were you in the clubhouse?
No. I'm saying like if you only focus on batting average and you don't look historically, dude, a catcher that hits 20 home runs every season is super valuable. Those guys literally don't
Agreed.
exist.
Agree.
It's
but
not
a
the same as a right fielder. I'm saying Brian McCann for years, when you make the All-Star game and you're the Silver Slugger, meaning you're literally the best offensive player at your position for about your first 7 to 8 years, that's a superstar player. It is.
Can you put that on a poll on Twitter? Just say, was Brian McCann a superstar or a really good player?
Yes or no?
But again, you're now taking in the last 10 years where he had a huge drop off. I mean, even Mark DeRosa was on. Now I know he's buddies with him, but he was on MLB Network at the time saying Brian McCann is trending towards a Hall of Fame career. He was. The first half of his career, he was on pace to be a Hall of Famer.
I'm going to put him against Yachty and see what happens.
It's not even.
He was a really good player
dude, his
who will
numbers-
not be in the Hall of Fame.
Of course not. His offensive numbers are way better than Yachty's. They're totally different players. Totally different
I
players.
didn't even realize.
How many career homers for Brian McCann?
282.
That's a lot for a catcher.
What'd Yachty have?
176 in 4 more seasons.
Yeah, I mean it's an offensive catcher versus a defensive catcher. It's not really comparable.